So, today we are going to learn about Introduction to Indian History. The history of Indian subcontinent at times includes the present nations, namely Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, China, and Sri Lanka. So, we are calling India as subcontinent. Why we are calling India as subcontinent means already we are having 7 continents. So olden days people they thought it has a subcontinent because people are talking different languages, following different religion, caste, creed. So they used to call our country as subcontinent. It includes Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, China, and Sri Lanka. The exact description of the extent of the subcontinent is found in Vishnu Purana, the ancient book of Vishnu Purana. In that, they mentioned about the length and breadth of India. So, which are the countries which included in India means Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, China, and Sri Lanka. And one of the shlokas reads, Uttaram yat samudrasya imadaraichaiva Dakshinavarsham tat bharatam nama bharatiyatra santati. So according to Vishnu Purana, one of the shlokas it reads, so what it tells, the country that lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountains is called Bharata. That means the country that lies north of the ocean. So here the southern part of India consists of 3 oceans. Toward the west, Arabian Sea. Toward the east, Bay of Bengal. Toward the south, Indian Ocean. The country lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountain. So Himalaya mountain stretches from Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, isn't it? Bangladesh, China. So Afghanistan, even the present Sri Lanka. So, the country that lies north of the ocean and south of the snowy mountains is called Bharata. There dwell the descendants of Bharata. The subcontinent is called by different names such as Bharatavarsha. So, what are the different names of our country? The first name of our country is Bharatavarsha, Bharatakande, Bharata, Jambudvipa, Hindustan, and India. So, 1 mark they are asking what are the different names of our country. So, students must write Bharatavarsha, Bharatakande, Bharata, Jambudvipa, Hindustan, and India. So, here we used to divide our country into northern part of India and southern part of India. The northern part of the subcontinent was called as Aryavarta, the land of Aryans. The southern part was called as Dakshinapatha, the land in the south. The North India we used to call it as Aryavarta and South India we used to call it as Dakshinapatha. Bharatakande, Bharatavarsha and Bharata are named after Bharata, son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala, as referred in Mahabharata. Long ago, our country was ruled by Bharata. He was the son of Dushyanta and Shakuntala, and hence our country got the name Bharat. So it was also known as Jambudvipa. The other name of our country is Jambudvipa, according to Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain traditions. The southern part of Himalayas was an island continent. Why our country got the name Jambudvipa means, so according to Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, the southern part of the Himalayas was an island continent. Island means 3 sides it's surrounded by water. So they used to call it as island continent, which they regarded as one of the 7 continents in the world. So it resembled Jambu, the blackberry fruit. So it is called Jambu Dvipa. The term India is derived from Greek word Indos. So old textbook they have given Persian word Indos, which stands for Sindhu river, the most important river of the subcontinent. So the term India is derived from Greek word Indos, which stands for Sindhu river, the most important river of the subcontinent. It should be noted that it includes South India too. So, which part of India we are calling it as India means it includes both North India and South India also. Hindustan was widely used during medieval period, 1000 years before our country. How they used to call our country 1000 years ago, Hindustan. Persians called the river Sindhu as Hindu and the land as Hindustan. So instead of Sindhu river, they used to call Sindhu as Hindu. So hence our country got another one name known as Hindustan. The abbreviated version Hind refers to the present Republic of India. Actually, the word Hind refers to the present Republic of India. So all these things students must write. Now, the next important aspect of this chapter is the impact of geography on Indian history. How geography played on Indian history. The physical feature of India, such as the Himalayas, the northern plains, the desert, the mountains, the two groups of the three groups of mountains are Vindhyas, Aravalis, and Sahyadris. The Deccan Plateau, the southern part of India is known as Deccan Plateau, and the three groups, coastal lines, toward the west, toward the east, and toward the south. So, and the coastal line helped and molded the development of different political units and culture. So, what are the physical feature of India? Two mark they are asking students. So, which are the physical feature? Name the physical feature of India. The first one Himalayas, the northern plains. The third one deserts and mountains. The two groups of mountains are Aravalis, Vindhya, Sahyadri. The fourth one the Deccan Plateau, and the fifth one coastal line. So these are the important physical features of India. It molded the development of different political units and cultures. First, we are going to learn about the Himalayas. The Himalayas separate India from the rest of Asia. So, Asia is one of the biggest continent in the world. So, which mountain separates India from the rest of Asian continent? The Himalaya mountains. It forms the natural barrier. It is the protective barrier. It protects India from invaders, foreign invaders, and the cold winds from the north. First, it is the protective barrier. Foreigners, they never used to enter our country. And the second important use of Himalayas, it controls the cold winds from the north. They have given birth to ever-flowing North Indian rivers. Other one importance of Himalayas, it gave birth to so many important rivers. These rivers have formed the most fertile northern plains. So these important rivers, wherever it is flowing, no, it forms the fertile northern plains. These plains were the cradles of civilization. Wherever the North Indian rivers are flowing, no more. So those rivers are the cradles of civilization and empires. The richness and prosperity provided by the fertility of the land. Because of the northern plain, what happened? We used to see the richness. We are growing agricultural crops. Because of this, everywhere we will see prosperity. All these things provided by the fertility of the land. It assured availability of basic necessities. So, which are the basic necessities of human being? Food, clothes, and shelters. It paved the way for the material, spiritual, and philosophical development of man. So human beings, they learned how to give respect, how to exact minerals, how to earn money, philosophy. So, what are the important philosophies human beings must follow? Because of all these things, human beings developed in this country. The the great Indus Valley civilization, the Vedic culture developed in this region. The two important civilization, the great Indus Valley civilization as well as the Vedic culture, it developed in northern part of India. The northern passes such as Khyber, Bolan, etc. have helped Indians to have commercial and cultural relation with the West. In between Himalaya mountains, we will have two passes. So foreigners, they used to enter from these two passes. So which are the name the two passes of North India, that is Khyber and Bolan, have helped Indians to have commercial and cultural relation. Through these passes only we used to sell our goods to foreign countries. Buying and selling of goods take place between these two passes, Khyber and Bolan. And cultural relation, Hindu culture, others will follow others' culture, Indians will follow. So, Indians have commercial and cultural relation with the West and also posed India to repeated Western attacks. So, from which side foreigners attacked India means towards the West. Next, we are going to see the Western deserts. Thar Desert. The only desert of India is Thar Desert. The Western Desert and the dense forest of the Deccan Plateau have turned the people into hard-working and warlike. So the Western deserts, we already discussed Thar Desert and the thick forest of the South India Deccan Plateau have turned the people into hard-working and warlike. Always they are ready to protect their country. The oceans of the south once stood as barriers. So easily, human beings, they are not able to cross the Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, and Bay of Bengal. So once it stood as a protective barriers, later served as means of connecting the rest of the world. They have helped to develop the commercial and cultural relation with the West. So these coastal regions, they have helped to develop the commercial and cultural relation with the Western countries. The geographical diversity, the geographical diversity and zones within the subcontinent and existence of various races like Dravidian, Alpine, Mongolian, and different tribes have led to the development of different languages and culture. Our country is not dominated by one particular race. It included three important races: Dravidian, Alpine, and Mongolian. And different tribes, even tribal people, also living in our country. All these people led to the development of different languages and culture. Now, the river basins. So long we were learning the Himalaya mountains, the western deserts, Deccan Plateau. Now we are going to discuss about the river basins or valleys of north and south have made the country agrarian from time immemorial. India is a land of villages. So, what was the main occupation of Indians? Agriculture was the main occupation of our people. They also influenced the rise and fall of many dynasties. So many dynasties they ruled our country from Mauryas, Kushans, Guptas, Kadambas, Cholas, Rashtrakutas. So many dynasties ruled our country. So it influenced the rise and fall of many dynasties and growth of many religions, cultural and commercial centers. India has become, it is the so many religion like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Christianity, Islamic religion, their culture also we are going to see in our country. Many varieties of minerals and rocks are available in abundance. Apart from river basins, here we are going to see many number of minerals. Rocks are available in abundance. The rocks and stones like sandstone, marble, and granite have helped the development of architecture. So, which are the stones we are using for carving the statues? Sandstone, marble, and granite have helped the development of architecture like palaces, forts, hill forts, etc., and also helped in the development of sculpture. Carving on the stones is known as sculpture. The big rocks in the hills have helped to develop cave temples. Even inside the caves also we constructed temples, statues. Abundance of rain and favorable climate resulted in the growth of rich flora and fauna, that is plant life and animal life. Throughout the year we used to receive rainfall. So abundance of rain and good climate, it resulted in the growth of rich flora and fauna. Excluding the Himalayas. Himalayas is a coldest place. Excluding Himalayas, hills and desert, the whole country falls in tropical climate. The atmosphere is conducive for the all round growth of man. The atmosphere is so good. So, we are going to see all round development of human beings. The next important features of Indian history, that is, the special features of Indian history. So, India is the seventh largest country in the world. That is also one of the special feature of Indian history. So, in area wise, it is the seventh largest country and the second largest country in population. So, population wise, it is the second largest country. Even Herodotus, the father of history, has mentioned India has the land of largest population. 2400 years ago, Herodotus, the father of history, so he mentioned India has the land of largest population. Now we are going to discuss what are the special features of Indian history. The first important special feature of Indian history is continuity of civilization and culture. 5000 years ago, whatever culture we are seeing in our country, the same culture today also we are seeing. So, that is the first special feature of Indian history. India has one of the earliest histories in the world. It has 4000 years of continuous history. So, Indian history, it has the earliest histories in the world and it has 4000 years of continuous history and continuity of civilization. So, whatever we have seen in the civilization, Vedic culture, the same thing today also we are seeing. Like China, neighboring country China also having the same type of culture and civilization. Evolution in phases. The another one important special feature of Indian history, evolution in phases. Its civilization has developed in various stages and phases with necessary improvement. Time to time, little bit changes, improvements we used to see. We find a connecting chain of events from Indus to Vedic. From Indus civilization to Vedic civilization, same continuity. Vedic to Islamic and Christian influences. The third important special feature, foreign invasion. Because those days our country was very rich, good climate, isn't it? Plant life, animal life. So foreigners they used to invade our country. That is foreign invasions. India in general and North India in particular was often subjected to the influence and invasion of foreigners. Greeks, Persians, Huns, Shakas, Arabs, Turks, Kushans, Afghans, etc. So, North India, India in general and North India in particular was often subjected to the influence of the invasion of foreigners. Who are the foreigners who used to invade our country again and again means Greek people. Afterwards, Persians, Huns, Shakas, Arabs, Turks, Kushans and Afghans. So these people infiltrated into India and left deep impact. All these invaders contributed to Indian culture and became a part of it. Whoever they invaded our country, they accepted our culture. They become a part of it. Whereas the English were an exception to it. Though they ruled for a long time, they did not become the part of Indian culture. South India had immunity from such invasion. So South India, nobody easily they will occupy our country, southern part of India, and developed a distinct culture of its own. The fourth important special feature of Indian history, dominant and tolerant Hindu faith. So even though whatever may be their religion, but Indians always they will believe in the dominance and tolerant Hindu faith. India is home for Hindus, Jains, Buddhists, Sikh, Muslims, Christians, Parsis, and several tribal faith and practices. So it is the home for so many religions and faith and practices. Indians believe in the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbam and Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. So we Indians always we used to believe in the concept of Vasudhaika Kutumbam. The whole world is a family. And Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. And let all the people be happy. So what is the concept of Indians? The whole world is a family and let all the people be happy. So it is a Sanskrit proverb, Vasudhaivaka Kutumbam and Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. The whole world is a family and let all the people be happy. Next, contribution to the world. So many things we have taken from other country. So what we gave to the world, what contribution India gave to the world. Indians have given noteworthy contribution in the field of literature, that is written work, philosophy, our own philosophy, which one is correct, which one is wrong, music, dance, architecture, sculpture, science, yoga, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, education, etc. The architectural and cultural monuments, including forts, hill forts, palaces, temples, tombs, caves, are the wonderful specimen of human artistic excellence. So, the architectural and cultural monuments. So, where and all we will see, it includes fort, hill fort, palace, temples, tombs, and caves are the wonderful specimen of human artistic excellence. Even UNO has recognized more than 30 historical sites as centers of World Heritage. United Nations organization. Okay, ma? So it recognized more than 30 historical sites as centers of World Heritage, such as the first one, Hill Forts of Rajasthan, second, Khajuraho, Konark Sun Temple, Taj Mahal, it is in Delhi, the capital city of India. It is the seventh wonder of the world. Jantar Mantar, Gaya, where Buddha gave his first sermon, Sanchi Stupa, Ajanta, Ajanta and Ellora caves, Hampi, Aihole, Pattadakallu, Madurai, Kanchi, Mahabalipuram, churches of Goa, etc. So, other contribution, what are the other contribution we give to the world? Yoga and Ayurveda are the special contribution of India to the physical and mental health of man in the world. Every year, 21st June, we are celebrating Yoga Day. So, yoga and Ayurveda are the special contribution of India to the physical and mental health of man in the world. The contribution of Charaka, the famous scientist of India, the contribution of Charaka, Sushruta, and Patanjali are noteworthy. Hindustani and Carnatic music, two important music of India. One is Hindustani. North Indian people, they will follow Hindustani music. Southern part of Indians, we used to follow Carnatic music. The different dance form. The first one, Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Kuchipudi, Mohini Attam, etc. are the artistic contribution of India. The great contribution to Indian mathematicians have enriched the world with the concept of zero. So, what contribution we gave to the world? First is zero and the decimal system. When today's developed countries were passing through dark ages, India was at the height of its intellectual and spiritual glory. So, olden days, Indians are very intelligent. The university. So, which are the universities our ancestors established in our country? Nalanda, Takshashila, Ujjain, Prayag, Vikramashila, Kashi, and Kanchi attracted the students from different countries of the world. Next, India. Another one special feature of Indian history, India has a country of attraction for foreigners. So again and again, foreigners they used to attack our country. So India has a country of attraction for foreigners. Why they again and again they used to attack towards our country means because of the fertile land, huge wealth of India attracted the foreign invaders, especially the Greeks, Persians, Afghans, Mongols, Europeans, etc. They attacked India. Places of scenic beauty, hill stations, the Himalayas, Kashmir Valley, the national parks of Kerala, beaches, and historical monuments are attracting the tourists from all over the world. The another one important future, special feature of Indian history, unity in diversity. So even though we will see differences in our country, but we used to live unitedly. That is also another one special feature of Indian history. India not only has geographical diversity, but also diversity in every sphere of human activity. First, physical diversity. India possess diverse physical feature like the coldest place in India, Siachen, the hottest place in India, Rajasthan, and the snowy mountains, Himalaya mountains, throughout there it covers with snow, and evergreen forest, the plain and the plateaus and the coastal line, etc., which have added to the variety of flora and fauna, that is, plant life and animal life. The second important unity in diversity is racial and linguistic diversity. So there is racial diversity in India. The people belonging to Dravidian race, Negroids, Mongoloids, Alpines, etc. inhabit this country. Even language differences, that is linguistic diversity. Also, another unique feature of Indian history, there are more than 1600 language and dialects spoken. Literature means how many languages we are talking? 1600 language and the dialects spoken. The third important unity in diversity is social and religious diversity. India is regarded as museum of religions, caste, cults, faith, customs, languages, racial types, and social system. India also has variety of food and dress habits. India has both patriarchal and matriarchal family system. So we are following some part of India, father is the head of the family. Some part of India, mother is the head of the family. Monogamy, polygamy, and polyandry are also practiced. One time we will marry. More than one time also they will marry. And polyandry, even ladies they will marry more than one time. Four great religions, namely Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism have originated in this land. Other important religions of the world, such as Christianity, Islam, Jewish, Parsis, and the subsects of all these religions, coexist here with great harmony. Now, economic diversity. So, unity in diversity is the special feature of Indian history. In that economic diversity, we are going to see now. All through the ages, we find economic inequality in India. The resources are unevenly distributed. On one hand, we find very rich people. On the other hand, very poor. Some regions and places are highly developed, and some others are underdeveloped. The urban parts of India are highly developed and can be compared with any city of the world, whereas the rural India is comparatively underdeveloped. In spite of all these diversities, there are many unifying forces that have kept India united. So, what are those unifying forces? The first one, geographical unity. Himalayas in the north and ocean in the south have isolated India from the rest of the world and formed a geographical unity. Himalayas in the north and ocean in the south have isolated India from the rest of the world and formed a separate geographical unit. Administrative unity. The administrative system of ancient India was mostly identical and uniform, which has been brought out by Chanakya in his Arthashastra. Rulers, administrators, and bureaucrats have tried to bring political unity. Mauryas, Guptas, Rashtrakutas, Kushans, Vardhanas, Chalukyas, Mughals, Marathas, etc. have tried to bring political unity by expanding their territories. Uniform education and literature. So, another one unifying force that have kept India united is uniform education and literature. In ancient India, there was uniform education and literature. Sanskrit language and Vedic literature, including the epics Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the Bhagavad Gita, have instilled the feelings of oneness. So, which two epics united India? The first one Ramayana, another one Mahabharata, and the Bhagavad Gita, that is the holy scripture of India, have instilled the feelings of oneness. Sanskrit was the lingua franca for a long time that influenced the regional languages, Pali and Prakrit. Okay, ma Pali and Prakrit were the languages of the common people. Apart from Sanskrit, two other languages, Pali and Prakrit, were the regional languages of the common people. During the medieval period, Persian language played an important role. Later, during the British rule, English became the lingua franca. After independence, Hindi assumed the title. A composite culture evolved during the Muslim and British rule. Hence, Indians have developed the spirit of tolerance and coexistence. The fourth important unifying forces of India is religious and social ceremonies. Though India is the land of various religions, caste, creed, and sects, the people lead a life of harmony. They participate in the religious and social ceremonies of each other and often intertwine. Any festival, marriage, okay, birthday, engagement, whatever it may be. So they will have each other. They will attend the social ceremonies of each other and often interdine. This was inculcated a feeling of oneness. The fifth important unifying forces of India is recent changes. Our constitution and the politics, okay, ma? Recent changes. Our constitution and the policies of the government, the present economic and social condition, the effects of globalization, etc., have reduced the differences among the different religions and caste. The food habits, dress, customs, traditions, etc., are not much different from each other today. This again has ushered unity among the people. So, recent changes. So, our constitution, before kings were ruling our country, so whatever rules and regulations they will implement, that only we will follow. After India became independence, um, so our constitution, we framed our own constitution, and the policies of the government, the present economic, the social condition, the effects of globalization have reduced the differences among different religion and caste. The food habits. Today, everything similar food habits we used to see. Dress, custom, tradition, etc. are not much different from each other today. This again has ushered unity among the people. Now we are going to see introduction to Karnataka history. As we are living in Karnataka, so we must know about our Karnataka state and language. So, Karnataka is a state in South India. So, which part of India? Karnataka. Hisma, Karnataka, it is in southern part of South India. It is inhabited dominantly by Kannada speaking people. So, which was the main language of Karnataka? Kannada. It is surrounded by Maharashtra and Goa in the north, Arabian Sea in the west, Kerala and Tamil Nadu in the south, and Andhra in the east. So, what are the boundaries of Karnataka means? It is surrounded by Maharashtra and Goa in the north, Arabian Sea in the west, Kerala and Tamil Nadu in the south, and Andhra Pradesh in the east. Kaviraja Marga of Sri Vijaya informs us that Karnataka extended from Kaveri in the south and Godavari in the north. The extension of Karnataka, so where we will see, means a book Kaviraja Marga of Sri Vijaya. So Kaviraja Marga, it was written by Sri Vijaya. In that books, it informs that Karnataka extended from Kaveri in the south and Godavari in the north. Origin and antiquity. So, historians have given different theories regarding the origin of the term Karnataka. Some of them argue that Karnataka derived its name from the land. Others believe that the name of Kula or community was coined for the state and vice versa. So, some of them argue that Karnataka derived from its name from the land, Karinadu. People are a little bit, the soil is a little bit black. Others believe that the name of Kula or a tribe or a community was coined for the state and vice versa. The word Karnataka was first used in the Sabha Parva and Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. First time where they mentioned about Karnataka means a great epic Mahabharata. There we have seen the two chapters. One is Sabha Parva, another one is Bhishma Parva. First time they mentioned about Karnataka. The Tamil work Shilavadigaram mentions the people as Karunadar. Another one, another one is the Tamil work Shilavadigaram. In that also they mentioned regarding Karnataka. Velvikudi copper plate refers to the term Karunadagan. In Tamil Nadu, Velvikudi copper plate inscription, Velvikudi copper plate, there also they refer to the term Karunadagan. Next we are going to see different words like Karnada, Komitunadu, Karunadu, found in Tamil classics, have been differently interpreted by historians. In Tamil classics, the word Karnada, Komitunadu, Karunadu, found in Tamil classics, have been differently interpreted by historians. According to S.B. Joshi, that is Samba Shastri, the Sanskritized version Karnataka is derived from Kanna plus Nadu, that is equal to Kannadu. And Kanna is the name of the tribe and Nadu the land. Next, Dr. Bendre, D.R. Bendre, opines that there were two tribes, namely Kannas and Natar. Together joined the word Kannatar. His Sanskritized version is Karnataka. Karnadu is equal to Kari plus Nadu. He is interpreted as land of black soil. Another one version, it tells about Karunadu, Kari plus Nadu. He is interpreted as land of black soil. Kani plus Nadu, Karunadu. He is interpreted as elevated or highland. So what is the meaning of Karunadu? Karunadu means elevated or high land. Some other scholars believe that the term Karnataka is derived from Komitunadu, that is the land of fragrance. So some of the scholars, what they believe means Karnataka is derived from Komitunadu, that is the land of fragrance, sandalwood. The accepted view is that Karunadu is the name of the land and Karunadar are the people, but as of today, the term Karnataka stands for the land. Kannadiga stands for the people and Kannada stands for the language. So Kannadiga stands for the people who lives in Karnataka. Kannada stands for the language. Karnataka, Kannadiga and Kannada. So what was the extension of Karnataka? The extent of Karnataka was subject to expansion and contraction. Sometimes it became a big state, sometimes it is a small state. The extent of Karnataka was subject to expansion and contraction depending upon the capability of its rulers. The geography of Karnataka includes the coastal region, the Western Ghats, Sahyadris, the Malanad, and the northern and southern plains. These have played important role in shaping the history. The important dynasties like Kadambas, Gangas, Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, Hoysalas, Vijayanagara, Mysore Vadayas, etc. have shaped the history of Karnataka in particular and the history of India in general. So what is the extension of Karnataka? Sometimes it expanded, sometimes it reduced. So depending upon the rulers. But the geography of Karnataka includes physical feature, it includes coastal region, Western Ghats, the Malnad region, northern Malnad region, southern plains. So these have played important role in shaping the history. The important dynasty. So which are the important dynasty which ruled Karnataka? The first important dynasty was Kadambas, followed by Gangas, Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, Hoysalas, Vijayanagara, Mysore Vadayas, etc. have shaped the history of Karnataka in particular and the history of India in general. These dynasties have made rich contributions to the field of administration, art, architecture, education, and religion. Karnataka has also played important role during the national movement, that is freedom movement. There were anti-British armed rebellions in Karnataka. Kannadigas also supported Mahatma Gandhi and the national movement. The history and culture of Karnataka form the integral and homogeneous part of Indian heritage. Even we Kannadigas, we followed, we participated in the national movement. We also supported Mahatma Gandhi ji. The history and culture of Karnataka form the integral and homogeneous part of Indian heritage. Kannadigas are proud that their language is recognized as one of the four classical languages of India. So many languages, 1600 languages in that Kannada language. Kannadigas are proud that their language is recognized as one of the four classical language of India. So now we are going to learn about sources of Indian history. So where we got sources? No sources, no history, isn't it? So history is the record of past events and achievements of man through the ages. So what is history, ma'am? History is nothing but inquiry or investigation or studying about the past events. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about the sources of Indian history.